Hello, how are you? I hope you're well. So, in today's presentation, I'm going to give you some tips on job search strategy. So, we are at the end of the year now, 2022. So, I've posted a lot on my YouTube channel about different Swiss job trends throughout the year. So you're welcome to check this out in my YouTube channel. So today I don't want to repeat what I said already. I just want to give you some additional information. So how do you look for a job basically in today's marketplace? What's the best way to find those opportunities? So what I wanted to do is basically give you again my steps and maybe build up on that. So the first thing that you need to do in today's marketplace to secure the best opportunities is to have the right profile online. So this is really where it starts, is your online profiling. How are you going to fare in comparison to people doing the same job as you? Because everything is competitive, obviously. So you want to make sure that your profile is very nice. So whether it's going to be on LinkedIn or it's going to be on your resume. So the effort that you're going to put in terms of your online profile and your resume is going to position you very well to attract not only recruiters but also opportunities at large. So for example, if I've built my profile online and everything is coherent, so people sometimes think about having a great online profile by having all the bells and whistles that you have to have nowadays on a platform. But it's more than that. There's also the content. What are you trying to build basically in your career, and why would people be interested in chatting with you? So it's not about just putting out there Isabel Litzler and putting all the nice things again that people say you're supposed to have on the profile. But it's also saying, what is my core expertise? Why would I be a right fit for a specific opportunity? And by the way, and this is not a lie, I do get people who message me. I just actually had a startup message me the other day, and it was around my 3 areas that I put online, which is careers, networking, and entrepreneurship. So I posted these 3 words years ago, and I built around these 3 areas because I consider them to be not only my areas of interest, but also the areas where I have built experience. And this is why when people now are going to look for professionals or people that would be of value, in those fields, obviously my profile would pop up because I have put networking, for example, as an expertise, or maybe they're looking for someone who has expertise on careers. So I would be the person popping up. So I chose those 3 words so that I always have people understand that these are my traits, so to say. So this is what you can do for your profile to increase opportunities and people messaging you, is finding your keywords. And they're not about the keywords of the moment. So, let's put marketing, or let's put, the buzzword, so to say. They're really about your true areas of expertise. So what do you do well within maybe a specific segment? Maybe you're good in sales. So what do you do well in sales? And maybe you can build on that in your profile as a sales expert or as a finance expert. And this is really the work that I do to help people have a great profile. Again, it's not about finding buzzwords or buzzwords on the resume that would go through the ATS platform. So it's not so much about buzzing, but more about what are your true areas of expertise. So again, find those words, and I do help with that if you need some help in finding what those words are. I talked about this before. You have some platforms, but again, the word clouds and all those like Wordle, they will give the keywords within your resume, but that's not, again, very deep. Think more about looking at who you really are and what you're about. So again, it's not about picking words in a resume or in a LinkedIn profile. It's about really understanding what you do very well, where you have value, and then people will associate you as the go-to person for that. So this is what I've built with my keywords, is I want people now within, I would say, not just Geneva, but a little bit further. I'm trying to expand also myself now lately in looking at, maybe the whole of the European continent as a marketplace. What would be my traits for the European continent? And those are, again, the networking, the events and all that. and this is what I want to be seen as. So for you, it's the same thing. Maybe you're a great financial expert and you're very good with the blockchain, for example, and you want to be known as the person who can build a blockchain within a specific marketplace, and you want people to know that you're the go-to person for that. So this is what you need to convey in your resume. So it's the expertise first, the know-how, and I think nowadays we're a little bit becoming too much of a marketer and not so much of an expert or actually learning a skill. So we want to go straight into selling ourselves when we haven't even understood, well, what do I know very well that I would be credible at? Because again, a lot of people also, companies, it's not just individuals, companies want to be seen as expert in a field, but some of them are not even there yet. So that's another issue. But really what you want to start is really understanding what you're good at, what you've been good at throughout the years. Now, if you're a beginner, maybe you're just starting your career, then you need to spend a bit of time maybe within your schooling. What skills did you see yourself good at? So it's really studying you as a person, studying the marketplace, and finding what would be that happy medium where you would bring value, and finding the keywords that match that, and building around that to build your online profile. And then it becomes very easy. And I do this for myself very regularly, the check-in and check-out, where what am I good at? What is my value? And to build my profile around that. So you want to build your profile around, what are your key skills and where would you bring value? How can you expand from that as well? Because again, usually when you're looking for a job change or a new position, it's not just about doing the same thing again. It's about doing the same thing maybe at a higher level, or maybe you want to enter a different marketplace. So if you were for years, I've had that with clients where they were for years working in the same level, always offered the same things, which can be an issue for a lot of people. Then how do you get out of that, of being offered? That's what people tell me. I'm always offered the same type of opportunities. Well, it's again, maybe how you position yourself in your profile, because if you have your title, for example, then obviously you would get the same type of positions. So this is what I would recommend, is to do this work where you're sitting down, you say, what am I good at? If you need help from somebody, then go for that. But really it's about what are you good at? What is your main skill? And then using the platforms as a way to make that bigger. So really what the platforms are doing, whether it be LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever you choose to be, it's making what you already have bigger, but then you need to start with something. You need to have something that's built already, that people say, okay, I'm interested in knowing more. But if you don't have that, then you can have as many profiles as you want, but if it's empty, if there's no substance there, it's not going to last. Now, I just want to make a connection to a series that I watched yesterday. And again, I'm not going to make any judgment on that, because who am I to say? But just to make a transition about the lack of substance. There was this entrepreneur called Elizabeth Holmes, and she's having a lot of trouble now because she built a whole company on fluff. And in the end, she was found out, and you probably heard the rest from the media, what happened. But really, that goes to say a lot of things now is about fluff. It's about, putting things out there and hoping and praying that somehow people will connect with you and everything. In the end, nothing will replace having substance, having something, that's true, that's authentic. And we talk a lot about authenticity, but I think all these words, again, are a little bit played with. So in the end, what's really important is, what do you have to offer in terms of, again, substance? Maybe you've worked many years in an industry and that's your strength. Maybe you just finished a diploma and you feel that now you have a lot of expertise to share from your diploma. Or maybe you've done some volunteer work and you think that after all these years of volunteering, that now you want to make that a full-time thing for yourself. But you have the substance behind it again. And that's what I would emphasize, is make sure that when you build your profile, when you go for your job search, that you have built something that's authentic, but that's also of substance. So, again, I couldn't recommend that. So that's step number one. Step number two, then you have to go out there. So that's, usually my second step. Once you understand who you are and you're well positioned and you have expertise and you're credible, I insist on that credibility part. And credibility is not built overnight. And it's usually based on objective things. It's not you saying you're good at someone. It's feedback, because people say yes based on, it could be your manager, it could be your network that's telling you yes based on what I've observed and what you've been doing all these years. You're a credible person now to do something within this sector. So that's what I do when I work with individuals on maybe changing careers, which I've done a lot now in the last years. So when people are changing careers, usually knowing what they're good at, understanding the marketplace, getting a lot of feedback, I include that in my training, because I understand that people need to have feedback that's going to help them understand where they're at. And then the step number 2 is to go out there. And that's when it becomes a little bit challenging, because either you don't have this credibility factor, maybe you've just changed careers and you're still a little bit weak there. So that's where sometimes people say, I have trouble networking, I have trouble finding the right people. And if you look really deep inside of that, it's not just trouble messaging people, because we're humans and usually it comes quite naturally to us to communicate. But I think where the anxiety is coming from is probably because step number 1 is still a little bit shabby, meaning that you haven't defined what it is that you do well. Because once you know exactly what it is that you do well, then it's very easy. It's very easy to post it on your profile. It's very easy to communicate it. And it's no problem networking, because you would know what to say, and there's not going to be this blank stare and being a little bit shaky in the boots type of thing. So I would argue that's part of it. Maybe it's not the entire story, but I think it's part of it. The reason why people have a hard time networking is because they haven't really found what it is that they do well, why they're the best person for a position or for an opportunity at some type of level. So really finding is important, finding what you're good at. Now, when you go out networking, finding the right contacts, it's important to understand why you need to meet certain people. So, what is your project about? What are you trying to achieve? Do you have networking goals? I talked in my workshop about networking goals. Are you at this stage just trying to get feedback? Are you trying to get a job? Are you trying to find business partners, maybe if you're in a startup or your own business? So really, I think all these things would bring so much clarity to you that when you go out networking for finding a job, for example, if you know what you're good at, you know what type of positions you target, let's say in finance or in marketing, then it becomes a little bit easy to know where you should be, what type of events, and to find those events. Now, there's another part of it which I realized myself working with events as well and networking, and I'm working on that in a separate project. It's not easy necessarily to identify the events, because I think sometimes the platforms are a little bit too wide. So you would find yourself with, coffees with pregnant moms and, breakfast with musicians. And so you're like, wow, there's all these events, kids events. And I see now there's tons of Halloween events. So you're like, well, where is the event where I should be as a professional who's trying to get a job now? And again, there's nothing wrong with these events if you want to have fun. And you never know, you could also meet some relevant contacts there. But the feedback I'm getting from my communities, from my clients, is where are the events for business, for I want to meet people that are working for corporate or even for small business, but I want to meet people who are in the business, who have a network as well, and maybe I have a network and we can do something together and they can talk about their open positions and maybe it's of interest to me. So I think it would probably save the time. And I realize that's a challenge for a lot of people, is where are those go-to events? Where should I be? And after many years of touring the events myself, of course, I can share with you now online. The chambers of commerce usually are a great place to have great events for business. So any chambers of commerce is a great way. So if you find something like that online. Another one is the clubs, the associations and the clubs, business clubs. So you have a lot of them as well. And business clubs usually offer business events, but there's many of them. So you have to shuffle through all of them and find the ones that fit you. Maybe it's a women only, maybe it's events where there's dinners or lunches, or the timing is not necessarily what you're looking for. Maybe it's a 2 or 3 day event, or job fair would be an ideal place if you're looking for a job, obviously. But I think, yeah, as a job seeker or people who are trying to evolve in their career, any fairs where there's going to be some business exchange, chambers of commerce, clubs, business clubs, check also lunches and dinners, because some of them might have a guest speaker. In Geneva, for example, the American Club is a great place because they usually have a leader that comes and talks and shares their knowledge, and there's a very quality senior executive type networking happening. In Zurich as well, there's a lot of business events that are very relevant. A lot of startups are doing events. So there's quite a few out there that are relevant. So just think when you're looking for an event, which ones have some type of business content to it. Are they going to be some corporate guest speakers? If there's corporate guest speakers, chances are attendees will also be corporate people. Is there a topic, a business topic? So are they talking about maybe a product or a business product that's being launched? Or, is it going to be talking about a forum of some kind, where you try to talk about productivity topic, or right now I've just seen a couple of events go by. There's also on management, how to improve your management, how to make it sustainable, all these things. So that's how you can find some events that are relevant to business people to help you find a job. So that's really number 2, is find those events where there's a business aspect to it, so that you can develop your network with this business aspect to it. And number 3 is going to be about, well, now how do I find within those events the key contacts where I can grow my next step, or get a job. So remember, number 1, build up a great profile with some depth. Number 2, identify the events that are going to be events that are relevant to your field somehow. So if you work in marketing, you want to find events around marketing, and where you're going to meet marketing professionals there, because maybe they want to develop their skills. It's going to be a conference or a workshop. And so you don't have a job, but they do, maybe they do, and hopefully they do, so that they can share also the knowledge of their company, and maybe you can find a spot for yourself by talking to them. So that's really to make it short. So how do you find those people? Well, you need to have also the mindset prepared, where when you network, you think about, what do you need exactly? I go back to my objective. So if you're out there to look for a job and your job is in marketing, then obviously you need to meet marketing people. Now, I would advise to meet people in the same level as you or similar level, because chances are, especially if you are out of a job already, meaning you're not looking whilst you have a job, it's going to be complicated to have this exchange of value, or at least so you think, that I don't have a job. So why would the CEO of the company that I target want to speak to me? Because, they have everything. Again, also usually in the mindset, those people have everything and they're busy and they meet people all the time. And I'm just someone in marketing looking for a job, or I'm someone in finance looking for a job. So that's why I say, to make it simple, pick people that are at the same level as you, because first of all, you would understand their world a little bit better. I find in my career, I've observed that I've always talked to people who are at the same stage as me better. So when I was a young professional, for example, I went to a lot of human resources professional events all over the United States. And I found that I always talked to people, maybe they were at the consulting level like me, or, HR professionals, I would say. But they weren't necessarily the CEOs or the VPs. Sometimes I would talk to them, but most of the time, to really build solid rapport, I would usually speak to people same level as me, who understood, and I understood what they were going through. So the first stage to networking with them was really we're going through something similar. We're at the same place in the company. We're working on similar project probably. And I realize now when I think about it that talking to people who are at the same stage as you, because you have similar issues, then the conversations would probably flow a bit better. So when you target a job search, think about where you're at right now. Are you junior? Are you a project manager, senior project manager? Maybe you're a bit more. So think about your level, what you do well, where you're at in your path, and try to find people at the same level. And not necessarily to look at it as competition, because chances are these people at some point would also need a position. So it's a circle of virtue, I call it. Maybe today they give you a tip and tomorrow you would give them a tip, but always look at it from an exchange of value and not just you targeting a person and a job. So look at it as, I want to also know what people who are in my field are doing. Look at it as an inquisitive type of thing. I always say the journalist approach works very well, because people like to share what they're doing. So when you meet people in events or online or what have you, they usually like to share their projects. And if you're at the same level as them, probably you worked on similar projects as them, or you're going to work on similar projects. So there's going to be immediately a common thing. And also because they probably work in the companies you target, then you would know about the right things about the right companies. So that's a little bit of the job search strategy there. Target events and people that are a bit in the same space as you. Also speaking similar languages, especially if you're not fluent in, talking about Switzerland, if you're not fluent yet in any of the languages, think about, I want to meet English speakers, then target those places where you would meet English speakers mostly, so that it's a little bit easier to talk. So, for example, a lot of those clubs, expat clubs, in Switzerland, I would say English is the working language. So that is covered already there. When you go to an event, English is going to be spoken. And now you just have to find within the group of people who are the people that are same level as you, where you can talk a little bit easier, and where you can get a little bit of an insider information from them, and also understand the marketplace so that you can position yourself better. So if you're thinking, well, I don't know right now in the city where I am in Switzerland what the positions would be, what opportunities would be for me at my level. So by going to those events and exchanging information with people who are already placed in companies, they would tell you a bit more what's expected. So that's when you would learn if language is such an issue for those kinds of companies, or if you're missing maybe a specific training that you don't have right now. So by gathering all this information in your job search, you're able to fine tune your profile also. And maybe at that point, that's why it makes sense, maybe, and always question mark, but maybe you need training and maybe not. But always try to do this getting feedback first, or getting information first, because if you don't do that, chances are you're going to do trainings that are not going to be necessarily needed where you're looking, because it's not what that particular marketplace is looking for. So I'm always for training. I think it's great, and I do training myself, but I always try to do training that's relevant at that stage in my career. So training for training by itself it could be fun, but it's not going to help you of your goal of finding your next opportunity. So if your goal is really to find a job and not just maybe keep yourself busy, which could be also a reason for training, but if you really want to make it work for you, you're in the action and you want it to bring some outcome for you, then you want the training to be tailored to your project. So, and how do you know if your training is tailored to your project? By asking people who have the experience, maybe who are a bit more they're known a bit more in the marketplace because they've already built a career. So if you're an expat, especially if you meet some local Swiss people, they would tell you, don't go into that, or don't do this training because it's not necessarily here. That's not how we do business. So it saves you a lot of time, energy on your project to actually get feedback, to understand it from people who are in the field of what it takes to achieve a certain goal. So that's what you want to do in your events, is a mix of, and that's a great way to find your next position, because you're not necessarily someone just ready to pull the resume type. But you're someone who is curious, who's asking questions, who's also maybe having some challenging conversations with the local market. And then when you go back home or when you leave the event with all the information that you've accumulated, then you can say, okay, now I understand how it works in the city where I am. I need to do a bit of a different resume, and I need to forget about these kinds of companies because they're not hiring at the moment and focus on the other ones out there because that's what's happening at the moment. And maybe I need to add a training to my under my belt. So you go at it a little bit more with your eyes open, a little bit more knowledge, also knowledge on the salary. I'm still surprised, but a lot of people don't know what salary they should ask. So that's also where you get it from feedback. If you talk to locals who are working in your field on a day-to-day basis, then you're not going to ask their salary, obviously, but you can say in your field, on your experience, based on your experience, and talking with recruiters, what is the salary range for the positions in marketing, professional in marketing in Bern or in Zurich or what have you. And then people would share that probably, if they know. If they don't, obviously they can't help you. But if they're working professionals and they're ambitious and they want to get ahead, chances are they know what their position, what the market rate is for their position. And they could share that with you so that you know a little bit what, based on their experience, what you could ask for in terms of jobs. So really the networking thing is not about I'm going there and I want to meet the CEO of a company and pull out my resume and get a job offer. I mean, that would be ideal, I think, but there's going to be some more steps to that. Get yourself a little bit more polished in terms of your knowledge of the market, get feedback, ask questions, make sure that you know what you're getting into so that you can assess whether it's the right fit for you and whether you're going in the right way. And then once you have this knowledge built up and you're a more sophisticated job hunter, then your resume would look more fit to that market you're targeting. Your profile online would look more fit. And chances are that's when you would have a little bit more activity as well, because then recruiters would be more interested in talking to you. You would get more interviews and so forth. So you see how it's a process. I guess the summary of all my half-hour talk here is about looking for a job is a process. It's not as easy as just pulling out a resume and trying to find people to send it to, or trying to be, finding contacts on LinkedIn that you also cold message, which chances are it's not going to bring you a lot of value. So it's about a process where you have to do the work. I know people don't necessarily enjoy that, but I always say it the way it is, and then people can make it what they want of it. I talked about it in my workshop. There's an aspect of effort there. So if you want something of value, you have to work for it. So it's a process of meeting yourself in that process, and being very truthful about what you can and cannot offer. So being truthful, being honest, being out there with the right intent as well. That you're also out at like, I want an exchange. I don't want to be out there to grab all I can type of thing. It's not the all you can eat buffet where you go to events and you say, okay, what is out there for me to grab in all form of shape and form? So and then leave and hope that you get high paying job. It's really about, okay, I'm going to also bring my expertise locally in that event and share what I know about my job and the companies that I've worked for. So I would want people to think about that for a while. We're really in a mercenary, sometimes networking situation that I find that people are out there to get all you can get type of thing. And like connect me with the right people quickly, and again, the all I can grab type of thing. Okay, let me connect me to that person so that I can talk to them, get their brains, plug into their brains, and almost look at it as like in the movie Matrix, where you plugged in and people want to grasp people's brains and plug all their information and then leave. And that's not what networking is about. At least that's not the way I teach it. Networking is not about, trying to connect with as many people as you can and grab everything that you can and move to the next thing. I always teach networking as a long-term situation. So you want to build, long-term rapport, and you want it to be an exchange of value where you benefit from your network, but they also need to benefit from you. Otherwise, it's not fair play. It's not team spirit there. It's you're more, again, the mercenary. I want to get it and make the most out of it and leave. So it's more about building long-term relationships that are going to be fruitful for both parties, and you're also going to be there to answer questions and present, and bringing value to the people that you talk to. So again, I'm not sure that what I say is necessarily what people want to hear, and I'm very conscious of that. It's a choice that I've made. There's a lot of easy tricks nowadays where people sell you all kinds of things, to get what you want, and it's in that kind of format. But I think that I have to respect what I believe in terms of rapport and networking. So whenever I help people in their job search or in their networking, it's always about the beneficial approach, mutual beneficial approach, and it's always about building long term. Because again, that's going to either reinforce or break your credibility. If you're going for fast network contact and fast job and all that, you're not going to be there for the long run, or you're going to get, maybe in the short term what you want, but it's not going to establish your brand as an individual for the long term. So again, if I want to summarize, build a great profile, authentic profile based on your true areas of expertise, so to say. Get the events where you can establish yourself even more, and show people that you're there, that you want to connect with them. And then go more into finding the contacts and exchange with them, and make sure that you're going to help each other, and not just you getting some help, but you're going to help each other. And again, it's with this beneficial approach. So if you're interested in knowing more, feel free to talk to me on LinkedIn, on YouTube, wherever you see this video. Feel free to message me. Let me know what you need at this moment to help you in your next career step, or to help you, break the ice, so to say, where you've been stuck maybe for a while. And I'm happy to have a chat with you and see how we can take it from there. So I hope you're having a great Halloween. Maybe you're wearing your costume right now. I don't have one, unfortunately, at the moment. But hopefully I see you soon online. I will have those every Mondays. I do a live that people can participate if they have the time, if they can connect. Otherwise, it's available for replay. Reach out to me, ask me your questions. Always happy to help. And have a great Monday and the week. Thanks.